what Quizizz is, how to create an account, and how to create our very own quiz. Now we're going to log in and we are going to learn how to search for a quiz by content and all the different ways that we can assign a quiz to our students and what we might use a Quizizz for. So here's your login page. If you're ever searching for a quiz, you can just go right up here and let's say I want to find integer operations. I can press enter and I have all of my options right here. So if I decide that I want, let's say I want this one, click on this and I have my options of playing live, assigning homework, or practice. We'll talk about those very soon, but you can see that all the questions here are shown to us. We can click show answers if we want to see those. We can also press save and it'll save it to your folder, or you can hit edit if there's something on the questions or the answers that you would like to edit. I'm going to go over here on the left to my quizzes, and we only have one, so I'm going to click on this one and we're going to talk about what play live, assign, and practice look like. So if I click play live, you have three options for hosting the game. You have team, classic, and test. Team and classic are very similar. Students run this at their very own pace. Classic, at the end, it's individual, like you'll have their individual scores. Team, although they play it individually, not their own place, their scores are grouped by their team at the end. For test, this is conducted where students actually have to log in, and it's a more serious, their score is going as a test score. Down here, we have a couple of options. So we can assign it to a class. If you decide to set up specific classes and put your students in those classes, you can assign to specific classes. Down below, how many attempts that students have. So you can either choose unlimited. I do this very often when we are reviewing because we work towards mastery, and I like that they have multiple attempts and they can kind of continue to try and raise their score and correct the ones that they are missing. If I choose one login or more, that means that students are going to be required to actually log in for this game. Show answers in game and show answers post game. You have options of on, off, or validate only. I often choose validate only, and I often choose questions only. What this does is during the game and after the game, it will show the students the questions. It'll show them the ones that they got right or wrong, but it will not tell them the right answers. I do this because often they're playing more than one time. It also eliminates their ability to share their answers with their classmates. Gameplay settings. So I turn the timer off a lot of times, but you can also turn it on. I turn it off because a lot of my students don't like the timer being on. They say that it gives them some anxiety because they're trying to answer so quickly. Also, they do get to answer even after the timer has run down. It's just as they answer quicker, they get more points. Shuffle questions and shuffle answer options. I leave these on because then my students are getting questions in different order and the answer options are all mixed up. When you're ready, you'd click host game. And this is the site your students would go to. This is the code they'd type in. And then as students start putting in their names, you'll see them appear here and you can hit start. We're going to go back and we're going to look at what a assign this homework and a practice game looks like. So if you click assign this homework, you have a lot of the same options down here, but you're choosing when they have to complete it by. So let's say I want them to complete it by Friday. And let's say by 3:45 p.m. Then I would hit host game. I would have a link in the code. I could post those for my students. You do have a couple more options down here. So you have power-ups. Power-ups are just kind of extra things for students to get some bonus points. You have redemption questions. This allows students, as they get a question wrong, they can see that question again and have another attempt at it. Playing music as they're answering questions and showing memes, and you can kind of pick from your memes. You can turn any of these off if you want. It's completely up to you. Again, when you hit host game, you're going to get a link and a code. You can post that for your students and they can play anytime they want until this time. Once this time hits, your quiz goes offline. For practice, if you click share practice link, it's just going to give you a link to share with your students. If you click play, it's going to bring us to playing right now, and you can see you still have the options of timer, the memes, the power-ups. If you want, you can turn this on for read aloud. Might help if you have students who struggle to read some of the problems. You can still edit your quiz all those things. So this is just like a quicker practice game for them. Now let's go back to our dashboard. So if you click up here, you're going to see teacher dashboard. And this is going to bring us back to our normal dashboard that we're used to. So on the left-hand side, there's a couple options here. We already went over this is where your quizzes are located. When you go to, after your students have taken a quiz, you go to reports, all your reports will be here. You can click on the actual quiz, you can click on the actual student, you can see what they've gotten right and what they've gotten wrong. If you choose to set up classes, you would do it here. You can either connect to Google Classroom or you can create your own class. This is kind of nice. If you choose to do this, you can assign games and they don't need codes. They would just log in to their actual class. And then collections. Collections is kind of like Google Drive. Once you start making more and more of these, you're gonna have a lot of them. So you can create a collection and you can break them up by unit, by concept. Just keep it a little bit organized for yourself. And then memes, we kind of went through that. If you are creating your own memes, you can create a set here and they would include that in your quizzes. I have used Quizizz in a lot of different ways. I use it as review games for my students. I've used it as a practice test before. They absolutely love it. I love that it is self-paced. I love that I can put it up as an assignment. It is free. I can make as many as I want. We can do this as many times as we want. So it's great practice, great review, and it allows my students to do these multiple times. Therefore, they can kind of take a skill and they can continue to improve upon that skill. I hope you have learned a little bit about quizzes and are ready to tackle your first quizzes all by yourself.